Hello, good morning. How is everybody? Waking up. My hair's not right. Right. Okay. Morning, Tim. Morning, Graham. Kevin, hello. And Enzo. And that's perfectly fine. Tim and Enzo just hang in as long as it is. But I really appreciate you guys hanging in and just joining a little bit with the live, you know. No, it's really good. It's dedication for you, you know. And I just hope that, you know, I'm delivering you some value here. Oh, right, it was a busy, very busy musical day yesterday, to be fair. Just get my headphones sorted. Yeah, very busy. I've got, let's see. All right. Two seconds. Yeah, we're all right. We're good. Wow, you have a big snow. I love snow, but I suppose maybe it's a really big snowstorm where you are. So exciting and terrifying. I love being indoors doing music when it's all nice and snowy outside. It's brilliant. Kevin, my God, I'm going to pop half my weight in that food. Right. Quick question. I've just bought my first Mac Studio and was curious how you live stream on your MacBook. All right, well, it's a fairly easy one. So what I do is the software I stream through is Ecamm. Ecamm's really good and it's a subscription. So it's not like massively expensive. You just pay a monthly amount. I'm very lucky though because as Ecamm like the stuff I do, they provide me with a license for free, which is brilliant. So every year they kindly renew me. But Ecamm is absolutely brilliant. And it's easy to use. I know there's OBS and stuff like that, which is also good, very customizable. But no, Ecamm, E for Edward. So that's the first thing I use, and then audio-wise, what you have to do is I use two audio interfaces. So I've got the audio interface, which I've got my headphones plugged into, which is the fast, as close to zero latency as I possibly can get. Yeah, autocorrect's awful, isn't it? And then I have another audio interface, which I don't monitor, which is the one that everything gets broadcasted to. So the fast latency and the monitoring goes into the fast one. Fast one goes separate outputs, goes into the broadcasting audio interface, which then Ecamm is connected into. And that's how it works. And then Ecamm just picks up that audio interface and then broadcasts all of the audio from there. So I hope that, like, you know, that's basically how it works. That's it. That was very easy to sort of set up. I must admit, Thomas gave me a little bit of a help just with some of the things, but because he helped me do that, where I'm just at one side, which was done on layers, but everything else I did, and I think just getting a shot that looks good in the room that you're happy with, and getting the lighting right. I mean, getting the lighting right was I found that quite challenging. But it's, you get there, and over the streams I've slightly adjusted it, and then I'll do things like so I've got a camera, I've got a Sony, can't remember what it is, it's the same camera as Sean and Thomas have got, so really good camera, good lens. So I think the camera was about $1,000, lens was about $500. All right, thank you, Shark. Yeah, and then what I decided to do, rather than just plugging the camera in and then just shooting it and adjusting the lighting for the camera, I actually shoot in S-Log. And what that is it just means that like each camera comes with its own coloration, really. So I just remove that coloration, that graded coloration, and then so it's raw, just like the picture looks. If you saw the S-Log picture, it just looks really flat, right, and contrasty. And then what happens in Ecamm, I use a LUT, which gives it this sort of cinematic film look for the colours. So the colours are like enhanced through Ecamm. So that's how I do it. So the blues and greens, or it's more pinky green, pink and blue, just more, the colours are more exaggerated, there's more definition. So that's what I do, just to have it look. Yeah, sounds confusing, but that's the whole setup. That's what you do. So, I mean, you can search shooting an S-Log. You can shoot. So you can search on YouTube shooting an S-Log, and it's just a few steps and you just follow the steps basically, and that's it, and it's set up. And literally, like in the morning, I get up at 6 now, and I can pretty much get on time on the stream once I've made my coffee. So I can get ready and switch everything on and get ready for a stream pretty quickly in minutes, which is pretty good. So today we start the conditions for success. Now, the first 3 things are probably quite related, so I might repeat myself, I don't know. So we'll have to see how this goes, really. But so we know the story of Hutch. 2013, 14. I was getting really sick of myself, not being able to do music. There's all these things that needed to happen before I could actually do something. So one of them was, I believed that I needed to make a piece of music. You need absolutely tons of time, like ridiculous amounts of hours, 60 hours to finish a song, which is just absolutely nuts, right? A small amount of that time would be actually spent writing the thing, and then the rest of it would be just minor tweaks. I always remember, right, I would make something, it would be 8 bars long or something, or 16 bars, and I'd start mixing that 16 bars, right, and making it sound really, really good. And I'd spend hours doing this. So eventually, if I'd got a loop of music, I'd do that. And then what would happen is then I'd go, right, this music's great. And it wasn't actually finished. And I'd go, right, to finish this, I've got to be dead careful. Okay. Just small, tiny little moves. Be very thoughtful and careful. And it was just painful. It was awful. And I would just be listening to the music over and over again, making the tiniest little of movements that you couldn't even hear what the difference was. And that's why it would take ages to do. An interesting thing about that process, that happening, because this is like something I see quite often happening with people. It's not just me. I used to actually think that's how music was made, painfully like that. God, how I was wrong. But anyway, like one of those things is, it's because you're mixing the two processes together divergent thinking and convergent thinking. So I'm mixing something that isn't actually finished. I should be still divergently thinking, because that's where the energy, the experimentation, the speed, the chaos, the excitement is. And you can't do that if you're starting to like mix something and do jobs that are concrete binary, that are yes, no. The best analogy I've heard of my coach was that it is like accelerating in a car and braking at the same time. It doesn't really work. The two things just they don't like each other. So the convergent stuff, I mean, we'll have to do a few little convergent things and a few designy things, but we're seeing it through the lens of discovery, remember that. But anyway, the first step for me was the conditions for success. So when I first started getting coached, and I started finding someone, a guy called Mike Mundy who coached me, he had like a little course thing, and he had a free thing, and it was basically about focus. And I think initially I gave it a go because I was just so broken down and needing some sort of a solution. I was prepared to do anything at this stage. In the back of my mind, though, I do remember that I wish that I was wishing for a course that would tell me what plugin to use, or tell me how to make a kick drum that would basically last me for a lifetime, and I would never have to tweak it ever again. I was looking for some sort of like concrete binary silver bullet solution to fixing all of my music problems, so I'd never be in pain ever again, and it would all be just done through sort of the making of the music. What I didn't think about, so everything that I was thinking about, all of these solutions that I was wanting, were things that were pretty much external to me. So that's an important thing. It's like the searching for external things, like buying another plugin, seeking more knowledge, seeking more skills. It's like endless, rather than just going, I'm Tim, I'm Hutch, I'm going to just do it and see what happens. So one of the first things was focus. And I think actually this is tied in with, habits and environment. So focusing, there's like loads of things wrong with I just didn't focus. That was the problem. So there were a couple of interesting points. I should have made notes, but I'll probably get all of them, because I do quite distinctly remember this whole thing that was the beginning of the change, really, for me. So the things I remember were my mobile phone, believe it or not. So on my phone, right, I have all of the notifications turned off, but I used to be a slave to the little red dots, on the applications that are begging for your attention all the time. And, that was the thing. The first thing I did was I got rid of all of my notifications. Notifications were completely gone. The only thing I have on my notifications is my text. That's it. Everything else goes. So that was the first thing, right? And then the next thing after that was just really understanding how the energy in our brain works, okay? So at the time, how the brain was described was, this is like, I think this is from Buddhism, right? So our brain, if you think of two areas, one of them, how it was described to be was the brain is an elephant, right, and a rider. And if we're in India, an elephant and a mahout. So the mahout sits on the elephant's neck, rides the elephant. Great, that's what it is. And that represents our brain. Now, what that kind of represents is the prefrontal cortex, which is the rider, and the rest of the brain, which is the elephant, which is our older, more efficient brain, okay, that does all of our unconscious work for us. And it was really interesting to understand how this works. So why this was important is because they believe that our brain was developed from the back to the front, okay? And the front bit is less, because it's less developed, it's newer, it requires a lot more resources, the prefrontal cortex. But the thing about the prefrontal cortex is that it it requires a lot of energy. and it is on a bit of a time limit, it gets tired and it switches off. So you've got to bear that in mind, especially when, you're learning new stuff. So you've got this prefrontal cortex, which is, energy hungry. And, if it is tired, it's going to be difficult to focus. And a lot of the stuff that you're doing in the studio, the more challenging work, it's going to be led by, you using your creative prefrontal cortex. However, a lot of, habits, repetitive tasks that you do can be put into the older brain, which is much more efficient. So one of the ways when we're thinking about focus, and I think this dials in with like habits as well, is we're trying to put as many tasks as we can from the front of the brain into the back of the brain or the sides or wherever, but just not the front brain, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the front as energy efficient as possible, so we can focus, so we don't get tired and we don't get distracted. All right. So to me, it made absolute sense, right, for me to start doing my sessions in the morning. Okay. So if you think of your attention span in the morning, all right, okay, it's massive. All right. I've got loads of time. Although I'm a bit of a dreamlike, but that's a good thing. Because I'm just happily sitting here talking. I'm still in a dream state. I'm still coming round here. So we have we've got our most energy in the morning, and then it kind of depletes, doesn't it, throughout the day till we get to the end, right? And then it's just like bedtime. So anyway, for the first thing for me was, right, what I was doing was I was going, right, get up, and when I get in tonight, right, I'm going to have the best music session ever, and I can feel the inspiration in me now, and I'm going to come back, and that feeling will still be here after my day, madness, and I'm going to, as soon as I have something to eat, give the missus a kiss, see my kid, right, I'll be able to go in the studio, and then I'll just work really hard, and then it'll be brilliant, and I get this idea done. All right. And then what would actually happen is I would go off and be reactive to, as you are during the day, you're reactive to other people's agendas as well as your own. And as I'm going through the day, I'm cognitively getting tireder and tireder and more worn down. All right. So you get to the end of the day and I think, right, okay, I'm going to do this studio session. Go, I'm tired. I need to get second wind here, which doesn't happen. You go and you have something to eat. Then suddenly there's other things that you need to do that are in the way. So you've had your whole day in the way of doing your music. Then you've got all these like random jobs and things that you have to do. You have something to eat. That's tiring you out. And then you eventually sit down to do the music and you go, all right, I'm going to do this idea that was so exciting. And that feeling's not there now. And the idea is absolute crap, or you can't do it. And that was basically what would happen round and round. But occasionally, suddenly inspiration would hit and like everything would be like flying in the studio. But the point was, it was just random. Most of the time I felt tired, sick of my life, with kind of these intermittent, I'm in the zone, wow. And in the zone didn't happen very much. So when I started learning how to focus, suddenly I was in the zone a bit more. So I know some people here not keen on getting up in the morning, but hear me out, okay? The first thing about getting up in the morning that was quite significant for me is it was the first real commitment to myself to actually, even though I'm a professional musician, right? I mean, I've been working all my life in music, right? So it's just absolutely nuts me even having this conversation. But it was the first time, right, that I'd made a decision to do something, okay, which meant, that felt to me, that showed me that I was willing to do what it takes, apart from like obviously previously dedicating my entire life to music. But it's funny how the madness works. I actually did this, and it was very important that I did this. I was prepared to sacrifice the end of the day. That's how it felt, and it isn't like that at all. That I would give away my free time, right? Move away from the family and distractions. and I would put this session of music in the morning. Okay, I would do my main session in the morning, and that's what I did. Back then, actually, strangely enough, I went, because I was in the belief of I need lots of time to produce. So what I found myself doing is actually getting up 4 in the morning to do studio sessions. I used to do 4 till 7, or like 3-hour sessions, which was just a bit crazy. Okay, but I'll come to that. What happened? I hate an early rise. Well, just your early rise would be at the beginning of the day. So it doesn't have to be the morning. Okay, if I was doing night shift, it would just mean that when I get up in the afternoon or whatever, or the late afternoon, I would have the end, whatever your end of the day is, you're transplanting the end of the day where you would normally do music, Tim, to the beginning. Okay, that's all it is. So just when you get up, that's when you do music. You don't have to, of course. This is what I found with myself, and this is all, fairly practical, isn't it? So it's based on, you're tired at the end of the day, you don't know what your mood's going to be like, but after you're rested, your mood's like, constantly, it's a bit more reliable. That's what I found, and your attention span's better, and you're more fresh. Hi there, Sean. We're talking about focus. That's what we're talking about, focus. So, Enzo, I've got a puppy 3 months ago, and I feel like it's been draining so much of my extra mental, physical energy. Yeah, so you just need to train him in the studio, sit him on your knee, give him a pat, let him go to sleep. Something like that, anyway. Question. Okay. Yes, feel free to ask a question at any point. And I suppose that this focus thing ties in with the habits. But anyway, so I made a commitment to myself to get up, to transplant basically the end of the day and stick it to the beginning of the day. But the sessions were long because I was still under the belief of that I needed massive amounts of time to make music. But already, okay, I realised by making this commitment, I would turn up and I would do the session pretty much. As long as I got up, I would do that session, okay? And I remember waking up, because I didn't really have any kind of coaching support. It was just something I heard about. It was like an online course thing, is how to focus. And I remember waking up in the mornings, and I'd actually spend like a few minutes thinking, like, why am I doing this? What am I going through? Tim, you could just stop doing this. You could just lie in bed, go to sleep. Why don't you just quit? And I would think, and it would go on for a while. I would have these thoughts, but every time I would go, I'm not quitting. I would get on board with these thoughts, and it was frightening in a way. I would I would get on board with the thoughts. I would explore the thoughts of quitting and doing that. But there was something every morning. I never ever gave in to that thought, and I got up, and I was tired, or felt tired. But then I would wake up, I would get into the studio, and then I would start making music. And by just doing that, by doing that time, it was magical. So I'd think that in the morning, I would get up, I would start doing I would start making music, right? And I would feel the benefits. I would start something, but I would know that the sessions would be regular. So it didn't really matter how bad the session went. I knew I could come back to it the next day in the morning. And just to build a habit, I didn't do any of the sessions. I'd just start doing these morning sessions. And immediately, right, I've had to put a percentage to it. Just by doing that, was 200% improvement. But they were very clicky, the sessions. They were like, it wasn't like smooth. I wasn't in flow. I was in more flow. The time felt, as I said, more magical because nobody's about. It's just you, completely isolated with you, your music, and your thoughts. And I really, really enjoyed that feeling. And then the benefit of that, because I'd actually done what I was supposed to be doing, I just felt a much happier person. I was much more attentive to the family. I wasn't in moods. I'd go to work. I was happy to do all the stuff that I had to do for my job, which is a great job. I mean, it's like a fun, like I've got the best job ever. But like then I'd have extra time and energy for that. It was brilliant. And all I had to do was go to bed a bit earlier. So it worked out just by doing that really, really well. But then you want more out of the situation, don't you? So soon enough, I started feeling, like I've made this commitment and I'm now taking it seriously. And now it feels more like that music feels more like a job. I'm taking it, it feels like a real thing, not this fantasy thing I've made in my head that nobody cares about. It's a thing and it's going to build and people will care about it. I will finish music. I will sort of release it eventually. So that went on a while. And then you start once you got these, the sessions dialed in, then, you start trying to think about, well, what is it I'm focusing on? All right. Because I didn't really know. So what I had to do is I remember the first sort of part of this was I knew I wanted to do dance music, but I didn't understand what genre I was because I like bits of everything. And I remember just finding a genre that resonated with me. And I think it might have been, I actually started doing deep house, but then it shifted actually. I shifted into, my style naturally just changed into, what was it? What was the genre you'd call it? Future house? No. Was it? Yeah, Future house. That's what I ended up doing. Future house, which is to me, like my sort of take on that was it had a very strong 90s influence, but it was like EDM stadium music. And if you hear sort of like on Beatport, the earlier stuff I did, like Go and I can't remember the names of the songs. Go was one of the ones that charted. It's that big EDM sort of thing that was going on back in 2014. So I had nothing. I was just like, the focus was to do music, and so it wasn't really focused, and it was all a bit like being in a dark room and having a torch and looking for something in a room, but actually not knowing what it was you were looking for. So I had to really, the problem there was, although I was making music now, it was all over the shop. I didn't really know what it was I was aiming for, what crowd I wanted to be in. And eventually some sort of consistency started to happen that pointed me in that direction. And I was really interested in doing that sort of music for a lot of reasons. But eventually I started to realize that, yes, this is what I want to do. There's this whole world there. What I can do is there's lots of labels. I can make music. I can get something signed to a label. Some of their fan base will like it, and they'll start giving me attention. And once I get on one label, then another label will start signing you, and you start building. It starts snowballing, actually, and it just becomes like football in a way. It's like you've got these labels, and you're kind of working up to get to the top one. That's what it was like a bit. And that really excited me. So I remember making this music, and then eventually I just struck on something. I thought, oh, that's like really good. This is the one. I'm going to send this one out. Now, I'd already got publishing just before I started getting these releases out, because I was making a lot of deep house commercial stuff, but not like massive about it. So that was getting a lot of vocalists on it and top lining as well. And then there was sort of the stuff that I was making, the EDM-y future house stuff. And eventually, one of those tracks, the track I sent out, which would have been the one that I felt, I mean, it's funny because like most of those old tracks, I listen back to them, I think that's all right. But at the time I was like, oh, there's something that's not quite right. But this track, the track I sent out, I felt in my heart to heart, this is it's good. It's a good example of what it wants to be anyway. And I sent it out, and sure enough, and there was plenty of offers on this track. I mean, there was some big labels getting on it, and actually a big label did come and sign it, and that was Two Dutch. They were really interested in it, and I didn't send it to them straight away. They had to keep prompting me on email saying, send this track, it's really good. We're going to release it. So then eventually I had the thing I was focused on. So the torch squarely hit on that. And then I had obviously that release coming up, and then I was just really keen on rinsing and repeating that process and getting more and more music. And that's how I went on, but I had that initial focus. But in the sessions, you're wanting to improve your performance. So getting up in the morning, removing distractions to help you focus because the family aren't about, all that kind of thing. Having your own space to do your music in. In fact, I didn't even have my own space. You know what? I just got up. Part of this focus thing as well was I ditched my big studio. This is really interesting. So I'm a bit all over the place, I know. So that's the first bit of it. Then sort of within this whole focus thing, one of the things I had to do was I had more like this setup. Actually now I've gone back to it, except this is obviously there's not much clutter on this desk. It's very, very clean, and there's only really the things, I've moved to Quad Cortex, there's only the things that I use in front of me. I have a timer. This is like a focus thing, so you'll see me sometimes when I'm splurging, I'll go, right, I've got to come up with an idea in 10 minutes, and you're beating the clock, and that's a great way to get into flow. It's one of the conditions of flow, because you experience time dilation, right, when you're in flow, so time just speeds up. You don't feel like you make, decisions are effortless and all that kind of thing. Because what we experience in flow, we can set as a condition to get into flow. So that's one of the conditions is I just have that timer there. It does that beep. So I try and beat the timer. And it works every time, that one. I love the timer. So it's one of my most important bits of... But so everything's just... There's nothing here that I'm not really using. Everything I use, Obviously I've got to have a few Kiesels on show. But I've got my workhorse guitar right next to me here, which we can't see unless I pull it out. And everything's nearby me. It's all ergonomic. There's nothing I have to get up and plug in to take me out of flow. Everything I need is absolutely 100% in front of me. So what actually happened then is I had loads of clutter. I just had loads of stuff and things plugged in that I wasn't using, or if I did plug them in, it was just they weren't very good for my workflow or anything like that. So I just had to simplify everything. So I built a nice template that was just dead simple, really easy to use to get an idea started. Back then I used to have templates. Right, I'll have to explain. Back then I used to have a template that was really, really complicated. Now I know you're looking at this and you think, well, that's really complicated. But back then I just had a few tracks. Okay, and then I would just build it from there. Now it's a bit different. I have this. This looks complicated now because I've practiced using it, and it's that, Beats plus 3 philosophy, drums, bass, mid-range instruments and a lead. This actually has the same principle as that, but it's elaborate. I've built on it out of need, okay, because when I've been doing my wins, problems and opportunities after sessions, some things come up I need X, and I'll be able to do that because I had to take time out in my session to set that particular thing up. So inevitably it'll end up actually in the template. So that's why that's like that. And it looks, it looks complicated, but at the heart of it, it is just Beats plus 3, just an elaborate version. And then I had everything on a laptop. So what I could do is when I got up in the morning, and I got a really good pair of headphones. I got back then I had got some Sennheisers HD 600s, which were really, really good. And I'd just take the laptop and I'd just go. Our house at the time was upside down. The living room was upstairs, so I would go upstairs, sit on the dining room table, have a nice view of the park outside, and I would make music, and it would be still dark outside, and it would only be me and my thoughts and my laptop, and it was very liberating, put it that way. And the limitation was just everything had to fit in that laptop. I had to be able to pick it up. But the great thing was, I was doing my morning sessions, and I was getting so used to that I would actually take the laptop to work with me, and then like lunchtimes and breaks, I would quickly open it and do some stuff on it. So I'd be actually working in short sessions throughout the day on music. And I was soon regularly finishing at least like one track a week. You know, at the end of it, I was doing like EPs with 5 songs was the record. And then I was releasing that much stuff, I stopped even, like, some of it's not even registered on PRS, I don't think. I was just like banging stuff out and forgetting about it. It's crazy at the end of it. But yes, just keeping everything like much more similar. But back to the the prefrontal cortex and the brain. The other thing that I used to think is that this whole notion about, oh man, I need to be in the zone. So when we're in the zone, that's the flow state, isn't it? It's the excitement of wanting to do music with, I really feel it now, but then you get there and you're like, it's gone. So it's about, being in that flow state and just really enjoying the moment. Yeah, I'll come to that. So one of the really focus liberating things was you've got to be careful what you do before your session, all right? And there's certain things you mustn't do, all right, when you get up in the morning. And one is look at your phone, right? And then start texting or emailing people. That's a massive no-no because you're using all of your brain resources doing that, okay? Which you can use up for music, all right? For a start, it might be something on an email that really needs your attention and it'll evoke a fight or flight response, which is draining the prefrontal cortex because you're having to think and you're having to respond, all right? So no emailing anywhere near your session, okay? When you do, like people who are like super successful and really efficient, they tend to only check their emails like at a lunchtime or at the end of the day. Because of that, because it's one of the most power-hungry things. There was a study done, and it was found that basically people working in this company, okay, if they wrote out of every hour of the day, if they wrote one email in that hour, okay, and it took 5 minutes, that it took them out of their work flow, and it would basically take 25 minutes to 35 minutes to get back to the state that they were in when they were in flow. So in other words, you're losing like up to half an hour of every hour just for doing an email. So that was the first thing. God, I removed all of that. Don't look at the news, right? Because again, that's not going to put you in a great state. You're going to start thinking about other external things. We need to keep ourselves absolutely fresh. So yes, the email. That's gonna exhaust the prefrontal cortex. Looking at your phone is gonna do it. All of that sort of stuff is gonna tire you out. Now the other thing was, it was like, right, okay, because I didn't know about flow. It was just like, whoa, I'm in the zone now, and it's happening a little bit more. So I didn't really know that. But what I thought is that being in the zone was like this magical thing, right? And there was no explanation. It just would happen, and then it would go, and I didn't know when it was coming back. Hi, Tim. Right, hold on. Sorry, Tim and everybody. I'm drifting away. Good night. Good night. Have a lovely sleep, Tim, and thank you for coming along. It's great seeing you on here. Okay. So, what was I saying? I used to think that flow state was this magical thing that would happen. It was like a little flow pixie would come and randomly just come and do a spell. Bing, you're in flow now. And I thought, oh right, yeah, thank you. But that's not the case. What was really interesting, right, is you can be in and out of flow as many times as you want. And I thought, really? I can be in flow as many times as I want. Well, I became a flow junkie, didn't I? So because of that, I realized that, that this could happen. And like when if it went after half an hour, I knew that if I kept going, it would come back. I didn't think of it as signal as like, oh, stop what you're doing. So that was really very empowering. And interesting enough, so you can get up to about, I think actually it is about an hour and a half, they say, of being in flow in one go. So you can expect to have an hour and a half out of it before kind of coming out and want to do something else. But then you can easily kind of get back into it. So I used to find in my sessions that I would get about an hour and a half completely in focus, which was amazing. And that's why my sessions ended up in the morning like an hour and a half. I'd make sure I'd have at least an hour and a half to do music in, and a couple of, obviously there's the bit either side of that for coming in and out of it. And even if I came out of that flow state, I could quickly come back into it. And the way I was doing that is through the timer, really. The timer was my main quick, easy to access tool for the conditions of creating flow, but also creating flow is getting rid of all the distractions, getting rid of all the things you don't use. But I'll go into more the flow thing later on in detail. For now, we're focusing. So the other interesting thing was I installed the impartial advisor into my head, right? Okay. So, and this is very early on, and it's not something I kind of do now, but, or like really focus on. So if you think about when I was describing the brain as an elephant and a rider, so if you think about the brain as in the prefrontal cortex, right, and the older brain, what happens is the older brain's the bit that causes the fight or flight responses. It loves distractions. So the rider is trying to steer this thing about that's constantly distracted, and that's, that older brain loves distractions because back in the day when we're throwing spears and running about in forests and things like that, we needed distractions. Either there was something that was threatening us or it was something we could eat. So if a bush rustled, can I eat it? Do I need to run? Right? And that's what we're like. And then what happens is with these distractions is we become overstimulated. And if we become overstimulated, it's really hard to get back to focusing on the thing that we did previously. So you can get, if you're in a music session and then you start looking at YouTube and then you start looking at Instagram and you're thinking that's getting inspiration, you're getting distracted, okay? And then you're becoming overstimulated, or even worse, you'll go into stuff where somebody's doing amazing music, right? They're doing the best 30 seconds of music in their life on Instagram, right? And then you start comparing yourself, and then you start going down that sort of thing rather than just actually doing the thing. But then we become overstimulated and distracted. And then again, we're looking for distractions after that. The brain's flooded with dopamine and we can't do anything. So that's no emails, YouTube, any social media is going to like completely deplete your resources. So you need to keep yourself fresh in that way. So then what I would do is I would have the conscientious observer. So I would install a little bit of a thinky part of my brain, which I'm not sure about now. But this is basically back when I would. So you'd have the mahout, which was the rider, and you'd have the elephant, which is, that was the prefrontal cortex. The elephant's the older brain. And then we'd have the observer, or the emperor, who would ride the elephant and give directions to the prefrontal cortex. So I would have part of me that was kind of aware, that I would practice, that would be aware of the process, that would actually keep the mission fresh of what I was trying to achieve in that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm always beating YouTube up. I mean, it is a good resource, but it's all about how you do something. If you're not doing it this way, you're doing it wrong. I'm sick of those music producer videos, and it's just awful, isn't it? Honestly, if I see another Unison MIDI pack advert, it's doing my head in. Like, what is wrong with the world? Why are people going, oh, I struggled doing chords and now I don't have to ever struggle again because I can just use somebody else's chords, and then somebody grabs a MIDI file, drops it into a project and goes, I'm using that. And I think, what the... When did music become drag and drop? Oh, I'll tell you, that's a good thing about AI, because it'll stop all that nonsense, won't it? But why would you, I mean, surely, okay, writing some chords can't be that difficult. I mean, I've done a few, things where I've shown people how to write chords. It's not like to get it, I don't know. We don't need MIDI packs. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, so would have the observer. I hope this is making sense. That would kind of help steer my thoughts in the direction. So really, in summary, with this focus thing, it was getting up in the morning with the attention span being at its height. It was cutting down the tools I was using into something more manageable, and getting myself into an environment that may not be a perfect environment, but was better in terms of, I wasn't getting any distractions. Okay, I had a regular time every day that I was making music, and that was 7 days a week. Okay, it was always in the morning. I was aware of the prefrontal cortex being energy hungry and getting tired and being on a time limit. So it was also that reinforced the idea of getting up in the morning. I realised that the older brain was loving distractions and would put off and use energy in the prefrontal cortex. I knew that doing emails would cause a fight and flight response. And if I did that or anything like that, or watched YouTube or any of those distractions, that would deplete resources in the prefrontal cortex, energy which I need to create music. I also realized that through habits, what I could do is the things that I'm doing, any repetitive tasks, I could take out of the prefrontal cortex part of the brain and then install into the older brain. So just, anything I can make in a habit, and what I mean by a habit is just, it's an automatic response. I just do it. I'm not even thinking. So when you're driving a car, a lot of the things that I'm doing in the studio, I'm just doing. I'm not even aware of it. And then realizing that that flow, being in the zone, can last an hour and a half. And when you come out of flow, you can get back into it and get another hour and a half, or you might have half an hour. And then if it ends, that doesn't mean it's the end of it. You just need a trigger to get you back into flow. And I think that sort of really summarizes it. But I think the whole point of getting into focus in the first place was, I had to make a commitment to myself, but also through that, because that is focused. I'm in the studio and I'm focusing on something, but I still didn't know exactly what I was focusing on. And that became apparently clear that I was focused on releasing dance music. And once I had that fair and square in my line of sight, I was just hitting that target all the time. Bang, bang, bang. Every time I was really hyper-focused on it, and I knew what I was doing. Wow, I've talked for quite a while there, haven't I? So I'm just going to go back on the chat, and let's just see who's saying what. Right, so Tim, unfortunately I didn't get his question, but Tim said, have you ever used an iPad to write ideas while away from home? Right, yeah, so obviously he's in bed now, but basically I've used my phone. So there's a couple of apps that I like on there, and that's Oxy, and Oxy's probably the easiest to use, but there's also Gadget by Korg, which is quite good for those two things. And I've used Native Instruments one as well. But we do have, I've always just done my music now in the studio. Occasionally I might get it out and fiddle about with one of the apps, but it's not a big thing. But yes, I have done, but I've never finished an idea on an iPad or anything like that. But I've started ideas, and the apps that I've always used, right, like Oxy, and obviously there's the Ableton one now. The thing with like Oxy that I really liked about that is it exported your idea as an Ableton project, so you can pull it into your session and use that. So that was really good. And it's a great way, if you haven't got in your studio, just to write something to keep yourself in the zone, in that splurgy kind of state, and practicing, because there's no limit to this. You can just be as creative as you want to be. And you can have it, you can be in flow whenever you want. You can be in it all day if you like. Right, Enzo. Right, what's Enzo? Right, easier said than done. Right, I missed out on that. Right, right? So Enzo, whilst I'm here, maybe you might be interested in asking me a question that I could possibly do a quick coaching session now on. So if there's something you don't mind discussing in the chat, I'm all up for seeing if I can help you come up with a solution for that. For flow state, what is the best advice for not having an area free of distractions from family members? Right. Okay. So for me, I went up to any room, right? As long as you can pick whatever it is up you're doing on a laptop or anything like that and just go to a different room, you have to tell your family members, you have to say, look, I really want to do this and I'm going off to do it. But this is another advantage of getting up in the morning, because people do, even then when you tell them, to distract you, right? So, consider doing the main lift of your music, not all of your music. You can still make music, within the family context, with distractions and all that kind of thing, and get things done. And I can tell you more about that later on. But for your heavy lift session, getting stuff done, what I would suggest is getting up in the morning when everybody's in bed, because they're not going to distract you. Now, I'll be doing habits tomorrow as well, Enzo. So in habits, I'm going to talk about creating your focus haven. So we'll be talking about the external stuff, your environment. All right. Headphones, you took the words out of my mouth. You sound like you have a very stress-free... I do now, because I've tweaked it to that point, Yeah, ignore your phone till 3 p.m. That's brilliant. People hate it, but we remember when we didn't have iPhone. Yeah, I remember. Cooking is another time consume. Cooking, yeah. But I mean, obviously, this is all at the end of the day. Again, you can't beat the argument of just getting the end of the day to the beginning of the day. You're fresh, your attention span's up there, and you just got to go, hey, I'm serious about my music. I'm doing this, And the thing is, even though, I wasn't making massive amounts of money or anything like that, when I was getting up in the morning, suddenly I felt, you know what, especially after my first release and getting the publishing, I went, this is great. I'm in the game. I feel like, I don't feel like I was a producer. I felt like I was becoming the thing that I wanted to become. And I can't tell you how great that feeling is when you get that. Because it gets into all areas of your life. Everything becomes like super positive. You live in the dream. And it's not all, money doesn't buy you everything, but doing something that helps you, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel that you're, making your connection to the world is so, so, so important. So just see what you mean about YouTube a few years ago. It's mega distracting. TikTok even worse, yes. So how many hours of sleep do you get? And what is your diet like? And forgive me if I've... No, that's all good, right? This is important stuff. So basically, I sleep when I need to sleep, basically, is the answer to that. I like to get into bed for about 10 o'clock. I mean, these streams are later, so I'm up till 11. So I try and have about, for when it's settling down, going to sleep, 7 hours. So I'll get just over 6 hours sleep. So that might be a little bit too little for some people. I've never needed 8 hours. And quote me if I'm wrong. I think Napoleon did say 6 hours for men, 7 hours for women, and 8 hours for fools. It was different back then, though. So yes, I eat healthy. So I don't. Oh, see, this is the thing. I'm really hardcore, right? So I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs. Okay. Mind you, but then I don't really do any physical fitness or anything. But I have quite an active lifestyle. I do take vitamins. I eat fresh fruit. I try and eat healthily, and I try not to overeat. Although I do sometimes have Twixes. So, I mean, I'm not like massive vegan diet or anything like that, like super healthy. But I make sure that what I'm doing is all kind of helping me out, not hindering me. Put it that way. But certainly, definitely no alcohol, no drugs, nothing like that. Simply because I don't want my mood changed whatsoever. I need to be in performance mode at all time. Yeah. So no, you haven't overstepped the mark. That's really important. And I'm glad you've said that, Enzo. Just curious, of course, I know we are close in age, yes. Able to note, yes, able to notice the Ableton one, very good. Oh, he was talking about the puppy, right? Right, I'm not trying to dominate the chat, I just don't always get in these because of my time. No, that's fine. Now, Enzo, you can talk as much as you want in this chat. Enzo says, hey, I can't possibly. You have Rick Rubin energy. I have energy because I'm excited about what I'm doing, and I'm constantly putting myself on a mission, I mean, saying that, the pressure's off me making music at the minute, right? I mean, I'm making music every day, don't get me wrong. In fact, do you want to hear a rough idea? I've started writing songs again, haven't I? So I'm on to song number 2 with the missus, so I'm going to play this. So we wrote something yesterday. No vibrational energy. So, I'm really wanting to make this channel a resource, as we all kind of know about, which is why I'm doing these things and naming them so people can go back to these. If they're prepared to listen to everything else I'm saying, then, they'll hear, they'll get hopefully something out of it. Yeah, I am very chilled, thank you. And so, and obviously there's the coaching side of it as well. But the other thing I wanted to do is I just want to keep practice is everything to me. And because going live is my main connection, my regular connection with the world, as much as it was when I was releasing a lot of music, that I need to practice it. And so the best way to practice it is just to make some rules that, like, I'm either going to make very minimal music or nothing at all. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to talk about my experience in some sort of logical order, because it'd be good for the coaching business. People get to know me. They get a vibe of what I'm doing, because I can't really coach people who are like, I was very early on, like, would have been uncoachable, because all I was wanting to know is how to make a kick drum that would last me for a lifetime. And I wasn't beaten down enough, but it was really sort of like, I need to sort this out, or I'm not going anywhere. So you need to sort of be in that sort of mindset, I think. You need to be a bit beaten and lost. But hi, Costner, how you doing? Good to see you on here. Oh, you're a lo-fi producer. Yeah, I mean, you can always like send me an email, but I don't honestly like Carson. You might not want to because, thank you for subscribing. I'm always happy to hear people's music. The one thing I don't do, believe it or not, is give you feedback, or at least I don't give anybody feedback in the way that they expect to have feedback. There's a twist to this. Right, I'll go quiet in a second. Right, we're nearly here, and let's just. There's my CPU complaint. Right. So yeah, this is like early. This is like hard, what I would call a discovery session done on it. So yes, I don't give feedback live on the channel. That's the thing. So that's cool. And actually, just getting, the thing about feedback is when you get it's not that useful getting it from people like who you don't know. You need a trusted network when it's feedback that you're wanting to actually improve your music. At the end of the day, I do like lo-fi. I'm not a particular genre expert on lo-fi. And I could be somebody, because I do a lot of rock and Rollin' and Hutch, I could be somebody who just doesn't like lo-fi, but then agrees to listen to the lo-fi, and then I don't like it. So obviously I have a bias leading towards that way. So the feedback that I would actually be giving you, Carson, would be unreliable. That's the thing. But then when you're, when you ask, I mean, this is actually really interesting that you ask for feedback, and I'm just really intrigued. Can you tell me why you would like me to give you feedback? Just interested. And what kind of feedback would you like? What would you like somebody to focus in on? But anyway, talking about, as you know, I'll play it. So this is like one of the this is like very, very early on in the stage. So this has only had a couple of hours on it, this track. I'll play a bit. Let's have a look. Oh.
You're my zeitgeist, that's true. You're alive
And that's where I'm up to with it. Yeah, she's oh, sorry. This is mine, Enzo. This is my track. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? So like the interesting thing is this: I was messing about on XLN like addictive drums, and I did something, and it went like that, and then suddenly, like a genie, right? The missus appeared out of nowhere and went, oh, like because it sounds 90s, and so she just boom, like summoning a demon. Suddenly there she is, and she's going, right, I've got an idea. It's going to go na 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 na, and then I thought, well, if it's got na na nas in it, it's going to be good, isn't it? You know, anything that's got a na na. You catch you, aren't you? Everybody's going to remember that. And then it became really hooky, and then actually she thought of the guitar line as well. Where's that guitar line? This bit. I had to do the da-na-na-na, but like the other bit she did. So it's cool. It's like there's lots of hook, and obviously there's going to be some shred on this. So it came together very, very quickly. It's got that industrial 9-inch nail, right? Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard much 9-inch nails, believe it or not, and I should. It's like disgraceful that I'm saying that. I know, but I've got that lead, that crazy. That unpredictable synth thing going on there. Does a few things. It's there's a bit of like feedback I use in it as well. It's just great for adding tension, you know. Blasphemy, yeah. So anyway, that's what I was doing last night. Actually, we're writing that. Just had a couple of hours on it, but again, it's like, you know, it comes together pretty quick. Songs are a bit like, I find songs quite easy to do because it's like, you know, you got a verse and a chorus, haven't you? So it's kind of 70% of your structure's there. So I'll be working on that. So I thought I'd just play that because I think it's you know, it's a bit different for me, isn't it, doing songs? I'm normally like an instrumental person. So I think I'm just about to wrap up. Is it? Would anybody like to ask anything after hearing that? And I hope the focus thing was useful. It's all right. I'm coming to an end. Right, okay. I hate to go, but it's 2 a.m. I'll stick around on my headphones, but have a good night day. Will do. Not good. So, no, I'm coming to an end, Enzo, so that's fine. And if anybody wants to share anything but just want to like send me an email or anything like that, I'm quite happy to talk about any focus issues you have. It's all good, you know. So tomorrow morning there is no stream as usual. It's Wednesday. Disregard the last. Yeah, that's fine. So there is no stream tomorrow morning, but I will be on in the evening on Wednesday evening, which might be obviously a good time to catch other people who don't catch the morning stream. So that's going to be scheduled for, I think, 7:30. In fact, it is 7:30, and I'll be on there for a couple of hours. So I think I'll be probably working on music and doing a bit of playing on that for a change. I do need to do a bit of playing. But then Thursday, I'm going to be talking about habits. So habits is really important. So we're going to be talking about habits on Thursday. And then Friday, we're going to talk about environment as well. So Enzo, environment and habits, I think they're all going to be of interest as well. And then the following week, we've got decisions on Monday, fear on Tuesday, boredom on the Thursday, and skills on the Friday. And then possibly getting on to community. I'd like to kind of wrap it up that week for the conditions for... I'm going to try and get all of the conditions for success done over the next week and a bit. It's this one, Enzo. Anybody who's interested, I keep forgetting this, I'm terrible at business, right? So obviously there's the coaching group, there's the machine group, where you just learn to make absolutely tons of music. I've got the professional, the going pro group where you're going to make money out of your music. And then the other thing I do, which I never talk about, right, and I should, because it's one of my favourite things, is you can book a one-to-one coaching session with me as well. So if there's something, and it's an hour, so if you'd like to book a coaching session, just send an email to me and I can tell you what the details are and all that kind of stuff. But you will, the one-to-one coaching sessions are, if you're wanting clarity, as we've been talking about focus, a one-to-one coaching session would be a great way to get you focused and get you, you'll develop a roadmap of how you're going to start. Basically, you'll have something to follow and something to go forward with from that. Hi, Danny. How you doing? I'm just wrapping up. So yeah, as I said, there's the coaching group. So it's a maximum of 4 people in. We'll meet every week. You get 2 hours with me. And it's all about making absolutely tons of music and taking most of the pain away from that. And that's priced, that's $200. And then if you're interested in, if you are already making tons of music and you're interested in trying to make a business out of that and make an income that's hopefully livable, then the professional group is the one for you. Not saying that we're all amateur, but I can't think of a better name for it at the minute. And then there's the one-to-one option as well. All right then. So that's me done. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow evening. Looking forward to it. I'm loving these sessions at the minute. It's brilliant. All right then. Bye.